Good morning, it's Monday, February 24th, 2020, 9 a.m. to the Muscatine County Board of Supervisors. I'd like to call the meeting to order. First item on the agenda is to review the agenda.
Move to approve. Second.
I have a motion by Nathan, a second by Santos. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carries. Item number 3 is to receive comments from the public. Is there anyone here wishing to address the board on an issue not currently on the agenda? Seeing no one come forward, we'll move to item number 4, discussion of possible action to approve claims dated February 24th, 2020 in the amount of $428,555.87.
Move to approve and present.
I have a motion by Scott,
Second.
second by Nathan. Is there any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carries. Item number 5 is the public hearing on proposed FY 2021 Muscatine County maximum property tax dollars for both general county services and rural county services. So we're in a public hearing. Anyone wish to comment on the proposals?
Just kind of as an explanation, this is one of 2 public hearings that we now have to hold for the budget process. This just puts out what the maximum levies will be for our general fund and our rural county fund. And then on March 16th, we'll hold the second public hearing, the one that you're used to, where you actually approve the budget.
Okay. So just for comments on those 2 funds, anybody have any comments, questions, concerns? Okay.
Move to close the public hearing.
So I have a motion by Nathan, second by Scott. This is a roll call vote. Nathan?
Aye.
Scott?
Aye.
I vote aye. Santos?
Aye.
Public hearing is closed. Next item is discussion of possible action to approve Resolution 02-24-2001, approval of the FY 2021 maximum property tax dollars.
Move to approve.
I have a motion by Nathan,
Second.
second by Scott. Any discussion? This is a roll call vote. Scott?
Aye.
I vote aye. Nathan?
Aye.
Santos?
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, item number 6 is items with the Planning and Zoning Administrator Eric Furness. 6A is discussion of possible action to approve Resolution 02-24-2002, approval of the combined preliminary and final plat of Golden Acreage subdivision.
So this is fairly simple, 1-lot agricultural subdivision. It was subdivision plat is required because a few years back, part of this farm had been split off across the road. There had been a previous split of the quarter. One of the joint owners of the property, Mitch Goldenpenning, is the farmer that farms the property, had applied for and was granted a farm exemption to build a house on this acreage. Ran into some issues with the financing, since has several siblings that also own the farmland together that he farms, as well as securing a 30-year fixed mortgage. Banks don't like to do that on a 40-acre or larger parcel of ground. So he just needed to create a smaller lot simply for his house, but nothing else changes. He's still the farmer of all the contiguous farm ground that physically touches what this residential lot will be. It's literally a tax parcel simply to accomplish the house being in just his name as opposed to the shared farm ground that he shares with his siblings. To give us a little extra layer of security, I guess, on this, they did voluntarily put a restrictive covenant on all the rest of the adjoining farm grounds, so this can't be done again by another sibling. Can't abuse the farm exemption process by moving over 500 feet and applying again. So I'm very comfortable with it was just kind of something we had to get a little creative to accomplish what they needed to do. So
Eric, where's this located?
it's on Jasper Avenue, south of around 2500 block of Jasper Avenue. It's kind of getting down towards Letts a little bit there. So the proposed lot meets all the requirements, minimum of an acre frontage, driveway's already been approved by the highway department, so it's more or less just kind of jumping through some hoops to accomplish what they wanted to accomplish. was recommended unanimously by the zoning commission as well. No opposition. In fact, some of the neighbors wrote a letter of support.
Great.
So,
So do I have a motion?
I move to approve.
I have a motion by Scott,
Second?
second by Nathan. This is a roll call. Any further discussion? This is a roll call vote. Scott?
Aye.
Nathan?
Aye.
I vote aye. Santos?
Aye.
Motion carries. Anything else, Eric?
I'll just give you a quick informal update on kind of where some of the FEMA projects are at. We are just waiting for one final appraisal on the third of 3 properties that we are looking at purchasing through the hazard mitigation grant acquisition program. Once I have that appraisal, I can finalize the actual application to FEMA. They needed a kind of a more narrowed down and more accurate budget amount that's based on the appraised value. And then we will make the formal application to FEMA and Iowa Homeland Security, and hopefully rather quickly get a grant commitment from them. That allows us then to make purchase offers to the parties that have expressed interest in having their properties bought out. We don't want to make those offers, obviously, until we have a commitment from FEMA. We're still being told that that there's going to be CDBG money available that would cover the local share. So we'll be pursuing that. Anything formal I'll bring to you as far as an application pack. But we've not been made aware of that specific process yet, just that money's being made available. So there was more money given to the flood mitigation board for the Iowa Flood Recovery Fund. I think another $20 million was appropriated. As we expected, that money looks to have gone to projects mainly in western Iowa. There was a grant given to Scott County EMA for a project in Davenport dealing with one of the hospitals and more of an emergency backup plan for if and when the wastewater plant in Davenport would go underwater. It allowed one of the hospitals to have a well installed so they could operate in case of a disaster. But that's the type of project that's not a FEMA flood recovery project, which ours are. So that's one of the reasons they didn't want to fund ours through the flood recovery fund, because it looks like we have FEMA dollars coming. So, but I read a report last week that there's still a large shortage of funds based on the damage in Western Iowa, to the tune of another $63 million is needed just for some immediate needs. So I'm not optimistic that we're gonna get flood recovery funds, but things are shaping up to look like we're gonna get FEMA funds. It's just a long process.
I think Eric talked to me a little bit about that when the kind of deadlines were loomed, and I think, to his credit, he was recommending we at least put the applications in. There's really, other than a little bit of extra paperwork, he was looking for work anyway, that there was not a big cost to us, and that we didn't want that to be, a negative at the future, that if they say, well, why didn't you apply for these other funds if they were available, we could at least say, well, we applied, but we weren't able to get others, so it'll make, and I think that was a good decision. Thanks for the work there, Eric.
Yeah, we certainly wanted to throw those applications in there, because I know our representatives up in Des Moines have been working hard to keep Muscatine County's name to the front there, if at all possible. So we didn't want to not have an opportunity to do that, so. Anything else, I'll let you know.
Thanks,
Okay,
sir.
Thank you, Eric. Okay, item number 7 is discussion of possible action to approve the minutes of the February 17th, 2020 regular meeting.
Move to approve.
I have a motion by Scott,
Second.
second by Santos.
Just wanna make sure you got a chance.
Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, item 8 is correspondence. Santos?
So I missed the last meeting, but I had, on February 14th, I had the meeting with Felicia at the mental health over at City Hall, kind of giving us an update of where we're at. I also had an email from from a concerned citizen in regards to the potential meeting again with Fruitland and Muscatine County, potentially with the drainage district, in regards to when would we have that potential meeting that I shared with you in that email. I also got invited to a meeting from the Trails Committee group here, knowing that I was involved in now being the representative by state on the Trails Committees on February 11th. I think that would be kind of a correspondence too, one that I didn't have. Not knowing that they were gonna be here for the last meeting. So I got a good update in regards to the meeting that you guys got prior to that meeting, and basically got asked if I could be a representative on their board as well too.
Perfect.
So I will be joining that as well too.
And, yeah, there was a question, did we have a question last week? Somebody about, or did, maybe
I wasn't
somebody
here.
asked me something about, if there were any plans on trails along the bypass, and I don't, you know, to extend the bike trail past where it is now, and I couldn't answer it.
I do have, Eric and, no, not Eric, I'm sorry. I do have Kurt and Keith, both committed to on the 16th, talking about trails in the county in general and maintenance of those, that sort of
Okay.
thing, so.
Right.
So I had a really good, successful meeting on that 11th one, just with the knowledge, knowing that we may eventually be doing work on Stewart Road. And I talked to them, basically mentioning to them that if we hypothetically were to have their grant funds, you know, allocated, if we were to already have, you know, mobilization of crews doing work on Stewart Road, there might be some, you know, ability to do something there, but I think that would have to be a discussion with Keith in regards to that, knowing that our project scope is for Stewart Road replacement. And if that was something that they were wanting, then it would be something that we'd need to bring to the board and have those discussions being made. But they were really open to it, and we're happy that I was available to help them on that,
Well,
so.
thank you, Santa.
And that's all I have for correspondence.
Nathan, did you have any correspondence?
I had a request from the folks at Farm Bureau that a couple of us come to their meeting tomorrow night, and I'll be going. I don't know if anybody, were you planning on going, Jeff? Or I don't know if you're,
Yeah, I
Occupied.
forgot about the date. That's tomorrow night?
it's 7:30 or it's after the conference board meeting, so it should interfere.
Yeah, I can do that with you, Nathan.
Great. Let me just verify.
Unless somebody else.
Yeah,
wants
7:30.
it. I think they wanted to.
They
talk.
wanted mental health updates, so I think they
Okay.
wanted us, so.
Okay.
And that's all I had for
right.
correspondence. Sorry, I forgot about that one, Leslie.
Correspondence I had last week, Tuesday-ish. Tuesday, I believe it was, Nancy, Sherry, Felicia, and I met with Julie Jetter from the DHS. Had a nice meeting concerning mental health and our concerns there. And then last Friday, I believe it was, they had a meeting with some members of the Levy Stakeholders Commission and with the interim city administrator to discuss, you know, kind of a joint meeting, council and us to just update where the levy, what the levy stakeholder project has been about, where it is and all of that, to bring everybody up to speed. And so I think, Nancy, I think Greg Jenkins has probably already reached out to you
Yep.
to try to start looking at scheduling dates for that.
I'll be talking to you guys about that in a little bit here.
Okay, and then I also had a meeting with you recall we did some kind of seed funding on affordable housing, so there was a meeting last week of that group. And we discussed kind of where the project was and kind of getting the arms, it's still very, very early on, nothing back from the consultant on the demographics and stuff. But we did have that meeting, and then kind of an offshoot to that, Charlotte Schaefer with the Community Foundation was there. And there's been some interest in, and I don't know who's behind it 100%, but I don't know if you've seen, you remember Senator Lofgren had talked about a program in Iowa with prison industries and affordable housing. And so it's mirroring after a program in South Dakota where they produce housing, and then they have you can have, you know, basically it's, I'll call it like a modular home, not a mobile home, but a modular home where you just place, you set the foundation and grade, and then they place them. And 1,200 square foot, 3-bed, 2-bath house, and the pricing appears to be attractive, so, you know, I had a little update on that. Now, as I learn more about these, but the bottom line is that MCSA, you know, this housing group, community foundation are all in on, you know, good workforce or single-family homes around. And, you know, one of the things that I had thought about that this board might consider in the future, I don't think there's anything, and I talked a little bit with Charlotte, you know, we had that funding that was leftover grant money or program money years ago from the state, and we've kind of held it and always contemplated what to do. And I approached Charlotte and said, you know, I'm a big fan of the RLFs, like we use for economic development, revolving loan funds, where there are programs that have done a lot of really good you know, Scott County has a monster up there. Mercer and Muscatine, we've got a decent sized one that we've had good traction with. And that's kind of a public-private, you know, banks have to be involved, but they're willing to take a little more risk on some projects if it's the right project and there's a board, a governing board. And so I had talked to Charlotte about, would the community foundation be interested in the repository of those funds and running a program like that? Because they would be capable of it, because they could take grants and do that kind of stuff. And she said they were absolutely, she thought their board would be absolutely interested. That's part of their mission and charter. And so as this kind of moves along, I'd kind of said maybe she's gonna reach out, I think, to our staff and to Bi-State, because they administer those and kind of learn a little bit more about how they're structured, what they look like, and how we could do that. And she said they're committed to not just Muscatine, but also West Liberty, Wilton, the whole community, because they are countywide.
County,
And I think that would be really good, so.
Great.
Something for us to consider as we move forward. I know we've got those funds kind of expended right now, but as they come back, it might be a place to put them to do good for the community, so.
Would we
We
still
had that
have to
meeting.
sign off on those expenditures or any disbursements?
I would say that if, you know, I don't know, Nathan, I would say that, you know, like the Mercer Muscatine RLF, this board appoints community members to that, so there's an application process, and they look for specific skills. They want people with banking or finance, and I can't remember our current members, I apologize for that. Was it Dave Jones and Tom Spread
It
possibly?
was.
And I don't,
I
it may have
can't tell
changed.
you, yeah, I can't tell you
Because
what it is now.
it's unfortunately, depending on the year, like the economic development one wasn't all that active because there just wasn't that much investment going on. But, I mean, the Scott County one is built up to be, it's almost an $11 million fund. And they fund a lot of business startup activity and stuff. You know, that's on the economic side. So I wanna see something, I wouldn't, and I would envision this is not a low-income program, because there's a lot of federal and state programs for low income. This is what I consider for that middle, you know, that kind of 100, and I don't know, we decide what percentage I think the board would, but the way I would see it happening is we would have an appointed member that would see our interests, and then the community foundation would manage it.
Good deal.
So, yeah, it'd be, because they've got, you know, as you
Sounds
heard, they've had good success with assets, and maybe they could collect more money for doing that same kind of thing, so. That was it, Scott?
Okay, correspondence, I didn't have anything to note. Committee reports, I had Riverbend Transit on Wednesday the 19th, and that's all I had.
Okay, perfect. I had a committee report. I had Regional Workforce Board on Monday at 11. Just a note on that, and I don't think if we've talked, you know, under the new federal legislation, we have to reorganize this workforce board. So we met in Muscatine. We're currently a member of I'll mess this all up, Region 9, which is Clinton, Scott, Jackson, and I'm forgetting somebody.
Scott,
There's four,
Cedar.
not Cedar, Jackson, whatever. 4 counties in Region 9, I'll remember it by the time, so, and
Well,
then.
we'd be the fourth one.
Oh, there you go, Nancy, there you go, and Muscatine, perfect. I'm sharp today. And then south would be Lee, Henry, Des Moines, and Louisa, they're Region 16. And the bottom line is, there's some segregation of duties that have to happen by the federal legislation. And then you're allowed so much funding to do board functions, and fiscal agent is the key piece. You have to separate those functions. Eastern Iowa Community Colleges has always done that in our region, not necessarily across the state. So they're no longer gonna be able to do that as of July 1. So what we're exploring of is, and this will come back for board action at some point, is joining with that other group, because if we don't, the 10% of dollars allotted is not enough to perform the fiscal agent funds, just bottom line. And so I think we have very similar workforces. They're river towns, they have an industrial base, an agricultural base, and it's a good fit. So we've been meeting, and we'll kind of share that as we go along, but it's gonna hit fast and furious here, because we have to have this done by July 1st. And we have a lot to do. And that's about it for committee reports, as I read. Did I say anything else? Did I miss anything? How about you, Nathan?
Yeah, I don't think I can quite follow that. I had the Veterans Affairs Committee meeting on Tuesday. Do want to give a shout out. We're going to be having a Veterans Appreciation Meal on March 8th, which is a Sunday. It's going to be at 1 o'clock. That'll be at the Armory down near the airport. That's what I had.
Santos?
Had the Trails Committee on the 11th, had the 14th, had a We Lead. On Thursday, the 20th, we had a meeting with they call the Ripple Effect, kind of a promotional video that we're doing with the local videographer, if you want to call that, from there in West Liberty, and came up with some really good footage that they're trying to do to help promote the school district, the downtown economic group, the potential. It's kind of a use for long-term to help try to get businesses to come to West Liberty, kind of overall showing just the future of what West Liberty could possibly do, and really good footage, very good. So now we're working on trying to kind of get some text overlay to go over it, and then long-term kind of get some more, different videos that we can kind of have into phase 3s and phase 4s on it. A really good piece. And then on the Friday, the 21st, we kind of finished up through the budget, going through setting the final stuff that we would be having again on this next week for the whole board. This was the executive board, and focusing on making sure that we get the money and the funds back to the county in regards to the loans that were presented to the We Lead group. And so the budget's looking really good. I feel pretty confident that we will have a successful year, and focusing on trying to, help, I think, also with the future collaborations that I think that needs to be done with the county fairgrounds as well too, that I've kind of had made a big point to them that I think is imperative for that group to continue to be successful there.
And maybe I've asked this, Santos, but all the apartments are back in service and renting now, and then the community college is back engaged and going.
Correct.
All the classes are back.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Nice.
Yeah. So
That's a
there's-
great resource source over there.
It really is, and I think that one of there's a ton of great stuff that we're trying to do, and narrowing their focus on trying to get a little bit. When we start putting it, we're going to get the kind of the goals group coming out, and we've really been focusing on what our future is going to be. And I'm wanting to set some dates and some timelines to that, so we have objectives of what we're doing, not just saying that, hey, we're going to kind of pie in the sky stuff. I really want to have a timeline of what we're going to do, and then we kind of hold ourselves accountable, making sure that we're following up on those things. So they're really happy with a lot of those. We've been meeting a lot lately, but we'll have another meeting this week, kind of supporting and sharing our goals, and then I think they'll have an annual meeting coming up as well too. So.
Okay, next item on the agenda is to receive information from county employees. Any county employees have any? Well, I might add that I am scheduled this week, Thursday, I have a meeting scheduled in Des Moines with the director of DHS to discuss kind of where they're at with mental health and all the regionalization in that process. And I'll be able to share the results of that meeting next week with everyone. Okay, item 11A, items for the administration office. 11A is discussion of plan to approve an appointment to the Muscatine County Conservation Board to fill a vacancy for term ending 12/31/2020. And we had 5 applicants, and as board members will recall, to keep our equity or gender equity, this needs to be a female position. So though we had a 1 or 2 gentlemen apply, we appreciate that. And I did speak with Kurt and the Conservation Board, and he said they would all be outstanding members from their opinion, and they really have this would be completely so if anybody wanted to.
Well, I think this is a really hard selection. One thing I note that's not really substantive, but might make our job easier, I think there was a 4:30 deadline on February 13th for applications. It looks like 2 of them were submitted after that. So, my suggestion would be disregard those, not because the people aren't at the absolute quality I think they are, but just because.
Sets a precedent.
Exactly. So, I think that would leave us with a choice between Susan O'Donnell and Joni Axel. Let me just double check. And yeah, then Mr. Jip also submitted as timely, but as far as we know, he's still a male, so would not fit our gender requirements. So I propose it would be, we would narrow it down to between Susan O'Donnell and Joni Axel, just on that time basis.
Okay. So, are you making a motion for an individual? You know, I know Joni was here last week, and you know, I will say, she said she would not be offended at all that if she was not selected, since we have a number of excellent applicants. So if that makes your decision any easier, Joni has been she's a great volunteer and a great addition to any board, because she's a hard worker, but she also said she would not be offended. So.
Well, I have no doubt that Joni will find a way to contribute to the community no matter what, and she's got passions all over the place. Ms. O'Donnell looks to be very passionate about conservation, a lot of experience in that. So, in light of those comments by Joni, I would move for Susan O'Donnell.
Okay, so it's a motion by Nathan to consider Susan O'Donnell. Do we have a second?
I will second.
We have a second by Scott. Any discussion?
Once again, this is not an easy choice, and so I think we took an easy route to exclude 2 very qualified applicants, and, well, 3 if you count the gender issue. So thank you, everyone, for applying. It'd be nice if we had this kind of passion for all of our positions. What position is it we're trying to fill now, Nancy?
Yeah.
So
Maybe we get somebody out there.
if you like adjusting things, Board of Adjustment,
Yeah, we have Board of Adjustment, and I just got notification from Jen on Friday that we have a Veterans Affairs Commission member who's taken a different job and is no longer
that's
going
right.
to meet her obligations, so
That's right.
I will be advertising for that vacancy as well.
Does that have a gender, do either of those have a gender requirement?
I believe we need a female for that if possible.
For veterans?
Yeah.
Okay, well, so I have a motion and a second. Do we have any other discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carries. So again, thank everybody for the applications, and board would appoint Susan O'Donnell, who did notify.
I will do
Okay,
that.
Nancy, did you have anything else for the board?
The 3 dates that Mr. Jenkins and I have discussed for a joint meeting are March 23rd, 24th, or 25th
And,
at 5:30. We're looking at 5:30, 6 o'clock p.m. Is there any of those dates that absolutely won't work for any of you?
23rd, 24th, and 25th, you said?
Yes.
March,
24th is the best for me.
at 5:30 PM?
We're looking 5:30, 6
Yeah.
o'clock, somewhere around
Yeah,
there.
any one of those are fine by me.
Yeah,
Should work.
24th is the best
Yeah,
for me.
okay, got
yes.
that.
Scott's gotta get his stone tablet out there.
Is it too cloudy for your sundial, Scott?
Gonna pull out the flip phone after that.
He still has one, by the way, thank you.
I know, he gets it now that Bob's not here, right?
I can probably make any of those work.
Okay. Okay, and then the only other thing, I wanted to remind you that, the conference board meeting is scheduled for tomorrow night. I did speak with Randy this morning about the potential snowstorm that we have coming. And he did confirm for me that he intends to leave the meeting set for tomorrow night. He's gonna send out a notice to the board members about how they can call in and do a conference call if they need to. I would like a confirmation that I'll have at least 2 board members there.
Assuming I can get there, I'll be there.
Yeah,
I'll be there and you can go to, I'll be there.
okay.
I don't think
As
I've
long
ever
as I
seen
know
a
you
snow on
already
Iowa
have
that would stop
conflict,
me from
right?
getting
Yeah, I have
On
the
my
solid
way
waste,
Yeah.
the solid waste
Yeah.
committee meeting.
So it sounds like we'll be fine. And that's all I had.
there. Okay. Anything else to come forward, any board members, anything to share? Seeing nothing else, meeting is adjourned.